Okay. So if I could have your attention, we have Congressman Barletta of Pennsylvania is here. And here it is. Hey, pretty good choice. And he did this most marvelous thing for us with Congressman Costello, who's no longer in the Congress, but a year ago, he introduced an amendment during the markup of this big MAP 21 bill, and he decided that we should have a study of larger truck size and weights rather than just allow larger truck size and weights. And I don't know, I just asked him, how did he persuade the members of this relatively conservative committee to do this? And we won by, was it 33 to 22? Oh my God, we thought it was the other way around. When we heard the number, we almost fainted when we heard this number. And we were so excited. And we had talked with Secretary LaHood the day before, and we told him how angry we were about this whole thing. We told him what you were doing. And then we called and said, we won. We actually won. So anyway, the study is now going on at DOT, and Congressman Barletta said he would also try and get involved in this, and we will have a new Secretary of Transportation who will be overseeing this. So that's going to be very important to have your involvement in it. But anyway, it was just magnificent what he did. We're so excited that he did this, and Don is here to. You want to participate in this? Yes, and would you come? Okay.
In this. We would like to award this to you in recognition of your hard work for truck safety issues, and particularly for getting that amendment into the bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful.
And these are all people who have lost family members or have been involved in crashes themselves, and it's been a weekend where we've spent talking about that and also about what we could do better on truck safety. And they've been to many, many meetings on the Hill, hundreds of meetings on Capitol Hill, talking to people about this. So we really appreciate you coming today. So why don't you come?
Thank you. Thank you. You know, my wife credits that with I like to win arguments, and I've had a lot of experience in doing it. But you know, it's really my life's experience that has guided me here in Congress. Not knowing, you know, when you come to Congress, because I was only a freshman at the time, not knowing, you know, what type of congressman will you be? Will you be, you know, what issues will be the issues that, you know, that drive you? And not knowing that, I came here with an open mind that I would use my life's experience to dictate what issues I'm going to get behind, because you have to believe in it in your heart. We're briefed on so many issues. I mean, it's just, you can't imagine how many issues we deal with. And it's very hard for you to really get a fire burning for every single thing that we deal with, just because it's impossible, because there's so many things. My family was in the road building business. We built roads and bridges, and growing up, I grew up on a quarry. And that was really where my best education came, because it was a large Italian family. My father had 6 other brothers, and there were about 40 boys, and we all had to work in construction. And I thought about, you know, that I didn't really know if I wanted to do that the rest of my life. And I went to school to study elementary education, but really wanted to play professional baseball. And actually, when I was in college, I had a chance to try out for the Cincinnati Reds. So I convinced my dad that that was my dream, left school, married my wife in college, went to Florida, played baseball. Reds found out I couldn't hit a curveball. They sent me home. Went back in the construction business with my family. Now, at the time, we started growing my own family. I have 4 daughters. But at the time, I had 2. And I decided to start my own business. I wanted to paint lines on the highways, the yellow and white lines, and started for $29.95. I got a little card in the mail. You can paint your own parking lot, and that was about all I could afford at the time. I told my wife, I said, let's start a business. She said, what do you know about it? I said, nothing. I know that you know, they're there and they wear out and somebody's going to have to paint them again, so why don't we do it? And we did, and the business grew very quickly. In 5 years, it became the largest in Pennsylvania. And when I sold it, when I became mayor, it was the 6th largest in the country. So, but it was during that time, again, you'll see how I came to the point that I was here. in fighting for the amendment. It was during that time I was dealing with traffic all the time. That's what we did. We were in the middle of the road, painting lines, very dangerous. I can remember on a Schuylkill Expressway, painting a center line, holding my hard hat on as tractor trailers were buzzing by me. One day at Villanova, one of my employees was actually hit. So, highway safety is very, very important to me. I then went on to be mayor of a city, my hometown, for 11 years. Came to Congress. My time here in Congress, I don't know if I have been lobbied any harder than I was lobbied for the larger trucks and weight.
Yay!
I'm in it. I'm telling you, we were lobbied very hard, and as every time they were coming in talking to me, there was something that was just, I was freshman, I was new. It seemed like our committee was going to, nobody really didn't seem like had a big problem with this, that this was going to pass, but there was something bothering me. I just didn't think that it was right in my heart, and I was hoping that somebody would realize it as well. But then I knew that probably other members on that committee didn't have the same experience that I had. And this is what I knew. I knew from my family's business that there were about 12 inches of concrete on an interstate. I also know that on a city street out here, there's only a couple inches of asphalt. I know as a mayor that when the city streets need to be fixed, the federal government's not there to fix them, the local taxpayers do. I also worked at a weigh scale, and because part of their argument was that they're going to put another axle on the truck, and that's how they were convincing members, my colleagues, that this was safe and it wasn't going to damage the roads. But I also know that if you don't load the truck properly, it doesn't matter the axle weight, because if the truck is not loaded properly, the weight won't be distributed properly. Well, this worked on my mind to realize that I had to be the one, because nobody else was going to stand up. And as a freshman, I could tell you it was probably my hardest and largest fight that I had. But the more I did, the more I really believed in what I was saying. I knew that those tractor trailers, after they got off the interstate, were going to go on local roads. Who was going to pay for this? Who was going to pay for the damage? And I remember as the debate was going on, I had to use my experience in arguing at home and start getting personal. Because that's what my wife always tells me I do. You immediately get personal to win an argument. And I talked about, I said, I'm the father of 4 daughters. And I don't know if you've ever driven in the mountains of Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania in the wintertime, or the hills of Tennessee, or snow-covered roads in Minnesota. But I wouldn't want my daughter coming down a mountain in the wintertime with a triple trailer on the side. Would you? And I also said, I'm sure, because I knew the answer to this question. I knew that nobody really knew, but I asked the question anyway, just to hopefully they would, their conscience would get the best of them. I said, and I'm sure that we all know how many structurally deficient bridges you have in your state. I know in my state we have 5,000. And at the time I was debating Jeannie Schmidt from Ohio. And I said, and I know my good neighbor in Ohio knows that there's 4,000 structurally deficient bridges there. It doesn't matter if you have 20 axles on that truck. 98,000 pounds on a bridge is what it is. And we wouldn't put our families on those bridges, would we, if we knew that they were structurally deficient. And I really believe that once we got to that point, we raised enough questions let's just do a study. Doesn't it make sense to do a study to make sure that it is safe, to make sure that we know what we're doing before we have what happened in Minnesota happening to someone else? And I was very, very happy and proud. And that was probably one of my biggest highlights, because I know how hard it was to again, as a newcomer here, to convince so many people on that committee that this was the right thing to do, in spite of how hard we were lobbied And I was lobbied by somebody in my district who was a big employer. But I realized that I'm not here for that. I'm here to do what I believe is right in my heart. And I will continue to fight this issue because I believe in it and I understand the damage. And I could tell you when I drive back home to Pennsylvania, I am convinced that every trucker knows who I am. That they follow me and get closer because they think he's the guy. But I will continue to champion this because I know what it means, and I know so many of you here have had to deal with your own experience with highway safety. So I'm proud to be a champion. This means a lot to me for that reason, and I want to thank you all.
Thank you so much.